Full Tilt eSports Psych. My name is Adu, and I'm pretty tilted. Are you tilted, Mike?
Yeah, I'm just a little tilted today. Are you tilted?
I'm full tilted. I'm always full tilted. Welcome to
Oh,
Full Tilt eSports
goddamn.
Psych. This is our very first introductory episode. Welcome. How you guys doing? Episode 0. We're going to be talking about our podcast and who we are, introducing ourselves, and what you can sort of expect to see from us, and what kind of content you can expect to see from us from here on out. If you want to join our journey. So, what are we about, Mike?
So, some of our goals that we have for this podcast is number one, to create a better environment for gamers and athletes to perform. Because, I mean, everyone wants to feel comfortable, right? And we want to put our best selves out there
Mm-hmm.
in our performances,
Yeah.
right? Number two, another big thing is create discussions around esports psychology, like, the mental health part. Even in sports psychology, it's less talked about.
That's true.
But I feel even in esports psychology, because esports is new in general,
Mm-hmm.
but it might either equal or even more so have a bigger mental aspect to it. And we need to take care of ourselves mental health wise, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It's a pretty undeveloped field.
I agree.
Also, number three, I think because I'm trying to get into sports psychology myself as
Okay.
a grad student. We got to do some research and look up literature about this. Maybe create our own case studies with the community, and we just grow together as a team. As a group wanting to make everyone better.
Yeah, that's a really positive outlook, and sort of like the way that we wanted to approach this was, right, like sports exists, sports psych exists, and the level of competition is kind of professional at that point. But esports and video game competitiveness competition is relatively new, and we wanted to like sort of like draw from our experiences and like sort of talk about create a conversation around esports psych, which we feel like can has a lot of room for further development.
For sure.
And yeah, like what Mike was saying was, it sounds like a lot of fun, and hopefully you guys will join us on that journey. Maybe we can like go attend like actual tournaments or events, lands, watch parties, conventions, other things, other esports events, or those kind of anything like going on in the community to try to get involved and try to like start to create a new environment,
Culture.
right? Yeah, a new
Yeah,
culture,
we got
a
we
movement.
gotta
We move
we
on a
gotta
movement, our little
normalize.
movement, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we gotta normalize these watch parties, bro.
yeah,
Like,
right. Like
what
people,
if people can watch football or
yeah.
basketball together? Why can't we watch the video games together, man?
Right. So, right, like I mean, like you go to the bar and you like go and watch a bunch of games together or something like that. And that's kind of like popping up more and more often
Yeah,
in the mainstream. In fact, I remember like this is kind of wild. I mean, this was a few years back, and I'm not sure they even managed to like to do this anymore. But like on national television, I remember there being like Counter-Strike games
mm,
on TBS, right? And then I was like at a bar
yeah,
and like it came on, and I was like, this is kind of wild, right? Like it was really interesting to sort of see that, and like having like a sort of a greater mainstream acceptance of video gaming and competitive video gaming, especially in our case, is what we wanted to talk about. Is sort of the direction that me and Mike wanted to take this, right?
for sure.
Yeah. So totally. So like that's sort of our goals and what we wanted to try to do and achieve here. And of course, like move toward improvement, right? However, we wanted to call our podcasts Full Tilt, right?
Full
So
tilt.
Full Tilt, right? So a lot of you or most of you should be pretty familiar with what Full Tilt means, right? But I kind of looked this up just to make sure that we were doing this right. It means like in our opinion, it just means to go hard, right? Like so, full tilt means to go hard, go as fast or as forcefully as possible. Sort of like running full tilt on uneven ground, or like running up the hill, right? Like just full tilt, right? And originally, so I looked this further up. It originally referred to like lance, like like jousting and lancing. So originally referring to combats thrusting a sword or lance forward, which is kind of badass, right? Yeah, and
Yeah.
then so and Mike was like, what does this really mean to us? And in our opinion, it means, in a little more colloquial sense, how about balls to the wall, right? So that's
Oh,
basically
yeah.
what Full Tilt is, and that's why we wanted to name our podcast Full Tilt, because we're going hard on this, right? But also another reason is because tilt is a poker term originally, I think. At least that's where it sort of like came from in terms of competition and gaming, where like where somebody, because of emotional or mental distress or confusion,
Mhm.
causes extra frustration, and they play in a less optimal way, in a less optimal strategy, right? And this
Yeah.
maybe causes people, especially in gaming, right?
Yeah.
Tilting off the face of the earth is like basically like being emotionally distressed and like going not doing what you're supposed to be doing, just because of emotional causes, right? And so
Yeah.
basically, our idea was like there's multiple meanings to full tilt, and it seemed to make sense in this sense, in a psychological sense too, right? So we don't want people out there rage quitting, right? So
Yeah,
this
for
is
sure.
part of the way that we are going to have conversations about full tilt esports psychology, right? So
Just saying, don't tilt your teammates off the face of the earth. There's no point. You're just gonna mess up your win rate or lower your chances. There's no
yeah,
point.
no one wins when people tilt, right? Well, I mean the
Exactly.
opponent wins when you people tilt. So yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
Well. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But all right. So to let y'all know a little bit more about us, we'll give y'all a little sneak peek into our history or our past. I'm Mike, or AKA Mikey W. Uh, that that username or gamer tag came from, or is kind of like a clone of Kenny S, a famous opper in CS:GO. I
Kenny
just changed it
S.
to fit my own name, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a quick shout out to my football and the gamers from back in the day. They used to know. If y'all know who Mike Jones is, he has his Mike Who Mike Jones, right? I got a Mike Who Mike Win, and also to my Korean students, 반갑습니다, or and to the former students, 오랜만에요. Uh, I was a Korean teacher, English teacher in Korea for two
Man of
years.
culture,
Yeah.
and an educator.
So I have some Korean students, and I got my bachelor's in accounting at UH, and now I'm currently studying psychology and hopefully soon into a sports psychology program. And I want to start this podcast while I began this journey so the community and myself included will grow and learn together. Because we can be a collective that helps each other out to learn together and create a better environment or culture, right? And understanding while we try to perform our best or work toward performing our best, right?
That's very positive.
Some more stuff. I have a pretty wide array of experiences. I already mentioned the Korean English teacher. I've been a food runner, I've worked in business as an accountant and a couple different business internships.
Ooh.
Uh, I've torn my ACL in football. I'm also an athlete, so I want to erase this stigmatism that nerds or like gamers are completely different from like traditional sport players. They these days everyone does everything, right?
Yeah, I think there really is like an overlap in that sense, right? Like people that are like drawn to competition would naturally, of course, whether physically or like gaming wise, like that makes sense, right?
For sure. A lot of my good friends from high school, when we played basketball and football together, we played Madden and NBA 2K, etc., all the time. And people get heated, or like mad. And it was a good competition, basically. And that spans over different competitions. It could be work stuff, it could be video games, it could be sports, right? And that's just it in a sense.
Mike's just
And
a
life in
jock,
Korea,
man. He's just a jock in general.
right? A virtual jock too, right? Yeah. Also, I experienced a lot of things in Korea, so it's a completely different culture. But that's where a lot of these crazy pro gamers for like League of Legends, StarCraft, etc. are.
Oh yeah.
And you see sometimes why their culture can breed some of these insane gamers, and we can talk more about that in the future.
Yeah, that'd be really
But
interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Now I want y'all to find out about my boy Adu.
Hey, it's me. Hola. I'm Andrew, aka Adu or Adu, right? So a lot of people, anybody that knows me really well will call me Adu or Adu, right? So it's true. So I am educated from UT Austin, right? So I got my degree in neurobiology at UT Austin, and then afterwards I went to the Health Science Center in San Antonio for immunology and infection master's degree, and I did some cancer research there, immunotherapy research, and vaccine development. And so from there, we were trying to create a cancer vaccine
You
targeting
mean a
toward
vaccine for
melanoma.
COVID, right?
Yeah,
Before I
man.
came
Like
out.
I had the foresight to see this. I mean, this was years ago
Yeah,
already.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
like COVID's a little bit more of a recent thing. Everybody stay safe out there.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
and so so those are I've gotten a couple of degrees for in the biology side of things. Back in undergrad, I also did a minor in psychology. I felt like if I was going to learn the hardware side of things of the biology of like the brain and the spine and things like that and like reflexes and things, wouldn't it make sense to do that the software side of things, how like the brain works, how it moves, how it operates, how people think, and how we develop as people. And then, so like that's why Mike and I have a little bit of overlap in that sense, where we're trying to learn a little bit more about psychology and bring you guys along on the journey with us, and to relate to our personal hobbies, which is gaming and our passion, right? So
Yeah, for
it seems
sure.
like it's sort of like the Venn diagram is like sort of like overlapping in that sense, right? So we thought we'd like sort of integrate that and bring that together. Now, so a little bit about some of the experiences that I've had in the past myself. I've studied abroad in Spain, right?
Wow.
That was like yeah. So like how Mike went to Korea, like Spain was like a pretty big thing for me. Like it was really interesting. It was really fun, and I learned a lot there. And then so like when in terms of work experience, right? I worked as a delivery driver for Papa John's. Shout out Papa John's Pizza, baby. I think some pizza right now. I'm really hungry. Those of you that
Hey,
want to send me a pizza, please do so right now. Anyway, and then so just like Mike, I find a lot of joy in teaching and tutoring. So I was a private tutor. I am a private tutor for high school students, especially in math and sciences, right? And I find like teaching, educating to be a really, really important thing in my life. And for a time, I was teaching in the lab, like intro bio labs for at a local college, right? So they called me professor, which was really weird.
Professor
That was really weird because a professor do so. That's me. And then right now, I didn't really enjoy lab research as much, and I was really enjoyed more the practice side of things, so the medical side of things. So right now, I'm training to get into medical school, and then I'll probably move on to practicing medicine after that. So
Very
that's
nice.
kind of like the goals, life goals, and like sort of like what kind of experiences that have built us into the people that we are today, Mike and
Yeah.
myself, right? So cool. So yeah.
So now we're going to now give you why we are talking about esports and kind of the history
Mm-hmm.
of what got us here.
Mm-hmm.
Because Adu and I, we have a pretty long history with gaming
Yeah.
and sports also, but
Yeah. True.
we'll stick to the gaming side for now.
Yeah. Totally. So, like, I mean, where did it start for you? Because for me, it started, like the stupid little educational games. Even when you were like a kid, like,
Bruh.
yeah, like where they had like these like you remember like Oregon Trail and stuff like that.
Yes,
Like,
dude. Oregon Trail. What is it? What's the girl's name? Carmen travels the
oh,
world or
Carmen San
something
Diego.
like that.
Carmen travels the world. Where are you at, man?
I
Carmen San
don't know,
Diego. Carmen
bro.
San Diego. Stuff like
Yeah,
that.
there
And
you
then
go.
like those educational games and like those like learning games. It's like oh like yeah that's sort of like where you get your start, right? And then
Hmm.
like just like the classics, right? Like so
Minesweeper,
yeah, Minesweeper, pinball,
pinball.
like you just messing around, right? And then
Yeah.
like Tetris or even like Pong.
Oh
Those are
yeah,
like even
Tetris for
further
sure.
back, right? But like
Snake.
Snake, Snake. So those kind of things were just like an introduction to video games in general, right? And those are really interesting because you don't really like or you're not necessarily competing yet per se, but you are trying to win, right? Like like these sort
Yeah.
of things, like you're
We're
trying to
trying to
like
complete the objective.
you're trying to complete the objective, exactly, right? And so like that's kind of where it all starts, right? And then after that, the original consoles, like the original consoles that I had exposure to were the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, right? The NES, the SNES. Like playing games like just like Mario, Super Metroid was like huge. Shout out to one that's like super underrated, and hopefully people out there have played this. The Super Mario RPG was
Ooh,
actually super duper dope, especially
dude.
for me. Spent a lot of time playing that. And then Street Fighter,
Street
like
Fighter
Street
2,
Fighter 2, like the Super Street Fighter one. Oh man, that was
dude.
crazy, man.
I played that all the time against my older cousin.
Hmm.
And for all you younger
All
audience
you
members,
Zoomers,
we were there from the beginning, right?
it's
So
true.
when everything was starting to grow up, come up, like we're talking about some old things here,
Respect your
okay?
elders.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But at the same time, you can always learn a decent amount from it. And
True.
I personally played X-Men and Spider-Man, like where you're just traveling around. It's like beat 'em ups if you know that class or genre. And like included with Super Mario and Street Fighter, you this is where we kind of learned our mechanics
Hmm.
of and learn interactions and maybe develop some of our reflexes to a degree, right?
Dude, honestly, like Super Mario and stuff, like was kind of hard, like at the
Yeah.
time. Like when you're a kid, like that stuff is actually kind of challenging.
I'm just saying, maybe it was because we were kids back then, but I still think like I don't know. Maybe we need to test this and put some of you younger members of our audience to check out some of these older games and see how hard it is, or if it's not hard at all to you.
That's true. Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, Music Freak John also was mentioning, I think, about the older games, newgrounds.com, if y'all know what that is.
Like
It had a
Flash
bunch
games
of
and
like
stuff.
browser games, yes.
What? Yeah. Yeah, that's
So
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
The
And
next
then
era.
yeah, and then we kind of moved on to sort of like after that. This is where I started picking up some more of like the PC type of games, right? Like, and this is really where I started developing a true like love and passion for video games. StarCraft One was like one of the biggest ones for me, like the hugest one, and still to my personal opinion, one of my like the favorite game of my all time. Age of Empires 2. I love these like strategy games,
Mm,
like the real time strategy games. That have sort of more recently fallen out of favor, but like they were always like my favorite.
RTSs,
Yeah,
yeah.
RTSs at the time,
I enjoy
so
RTSs. I
super
think
super fun.
for StarCraft One, you may have played on computer, but I played it on I think Nintendo 64 with
Oh
one of
my
my friends.
damn!
Uh, Literally, we would let our workers mine while we went to go dinner with his parents, right? Come back and just start building everything, and then have like a big war, basically.
This guy's an AFK farmer even before like MMOs were even existing, right? Like
Hey man, why not? You know, you're efficient with your time,
yeah,
but
man.
also like you how you love Super Mario RPG.
Hmm.
I There was a game I liked a lot, which was Paper
Oh,
Mario.
Paper
I
Mario.
love that game so much.
Wow, that's a big one.
And then I don't know, there's like games like Battlefield. I think you mentioned
Hmm.
Lego Rock Raiders to
Oh
me
yeah,
before.
Rock Raiders. That was like fun. It was like that's like an obscure one, but that was like a ridiculous one. I saw Oscar playing that the other day. It was really cool.
Hey man, we always have our single player games that somehow it doesn't have to be like the multiplayer games that get us into gaming, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes finding those single player games, like people may like down say it's not great or whatever, but it's the game that you're interested in. So who cares,
Hmm.
right? Just like enjoy what you like and be proud of it. Why not,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, single player games, and like that's kind of what yeah, that like developed our love for gaming to begin with, right? And then
Yeah.
like later on, sort of we moved on to like the next generation consoles, and I think like
The
to us at
golden
least,
era.
the golden era, man, like the GameCube, PS2, Xbox, I guess
Xbox.
360 or whatever. This is where we start seeing like Super Smash Bros, right, and Halo
Yeah.
2, right? A lot of the party
Mhm.
games start coming up, right, Mike? What did like
Yeah.
what was there?
Super Monkey
Super Monkey Ball,
Ball,
yeah.
Mario
Yeah,
Party.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, there's
Mario
so
Kart.
many.
Oh my gosh, those are games that will like definitely end your friendships, right?
Yeah, and friendships, like those blue shells, they ain't nice,
You will never, yeah. Oh my God, blue shells in Mario Kart. Oh gosh, lightning and then blue
hmm
shell, and then you're just like in last place all of a sudden.
Traumatizing
Traumatizing, yeah. Like
sometimes.
it'd be a little bit scarring,
But
right?
dude, that era, you got to truly start to grow up the esports scene because like people started becoming more
Exactly.
competitive because sometimes you could LAN
Mm-hmm.
like bigger LAN events, right?
Exactly.
Like Xboxes could connect to each other. I think PS2s could also do something like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then this, yeah, you start seeing the case where many people are coming together, and they are, if there is a competition, which there now is because it's multiplayer, right? You start getting to the place where like people are getting really good at it, and then they want to prove
Yeah.
it, and then they want to compete against other people that are really good, right?
hmm
So then that's really where it starts, right? Where you can
Just
start getting together to start playing games together.
yeah, for sure. And just saying, also to the PlayStation era with the N64, etc., to this PS2 golden era, right? Is Final Fantasy was my single player game. I forgot
Oh,
to mention that.
oh yeah, Final
Like,
Fantasy.
there's so many good Final Fantasy games, and I know that there's people out there that if you haven't played them, go try them. I'm more of a fan from like Final Fantasy 10 and more down, but I heard the remake for Final Fantasy, I think 7
Mm-hmm.
is super good, so try that out.
That's
I'm not
awesome.
sponsored by them, but y'all should check it out.
Listen, if we have any sponsors out there that are listening, come sponsor us. We can talk. Anyway, so further down the line, even than this golden era, we had ourselves the awareness of like further awareness, especially for us personally, of esports, right? So like we are just talking about, we were like moving into this era where like competition starts getting serious, right? Like fierce, even global, right? So now we have ourselves like StarCraft 2. We have like League of Legends coming out. We have like Counter Strike Global Offensive, right? These are like major games, especially in the PC community at least, that are
hmm
like really competitive. Large prize pools. People come from all over the world to compete against each other, and like it's just sort of like the very dawn of like true professional gaming, right? Yeah.
It became more of something that was normal to see, I guess, at least for
Yeah,
us.
it
And
became more
then
normalized, right? Much
yeah.
more
Also, the
normalized.
internet was starting to become. This is where internet is starting to also become like normal to see different clips, or like YouTube was better, basically.
Yeah, it's leaving its
Like
infancy and then like really moving into
yeah.
like its further phases.
So like we had also like outside of the three games dude mentioned just now, Marvel vs. Capcom Ultimate and Street Fighter, Super Smash Bros. Like those are also
Yeah.
continually rising,
Yep.
and we would see those type of tournaments all the time. You'd see international players compete against well, I'm from the United States, so US players to see who's best, right?
Yeah.
And all around the world, like people come out, right? And it's actually amazing to see. A lot of times, sometimes it could be the Japanese people, it could be like someone from Europe, it could be anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And it was amazing to see.
And then sort of, like every community or whatever have maybe even has its like own like group or like cohort or whatever, and they even have like their
Mhm.
own like set strategies or like one way of
Oh
like
yeah,
types of playing, right? Like think of
yeah,
like Chinese league players, right? Like there's a certain way that they play
oh yeah.
versus like
Like
other people, right? So like that's kind of like something that's really interesting to sort of see within like differences even within like micro regions, right? Like micro regional
hmm
competitions. So it's really interesting. And so as of most recently, we're moving into the much more modern area. Like right now, Mike and I, have been playing a lot of Valorant. I've been playing a lot of Age of Empires 4 just to relive that whole Age of Empires 2,
RTS.
yeah, love that I used to have. And like coming back, kind of coming full circle again, like really loving, having less time, really enjoying single player games a lot when I get the chance to have like a really good experience in a single player game. It's like it's pretty cherished, right?
hmm
You used to play those games as kids all the time, and then now when you come back to like playing maybe their sequels or like something entirely new or like just an experience that you have in a single player game, it's really valuable, right? Just to like to maybe not necessarily be too caught up in entirely just in like competition or like multiplayer games, right? Yeah,
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 I
but
mean, I'm also a TFT player. Like I went back into strategy games, whether it be a single player or like TFT, at least. I guess you don't have to fall into the super competitive side because you do need to let your brain relax, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm definitely guilty of not letting my brain relax sometimes,
Yeah, because
you know.
right, because like that can happen, and then like you don't have enough time for games. You lose your interest in games. You can't maintain your attention for long enough time to like be like, oh, like these are like in these experiences aren't like necessarily able to. You can't like sit there and go through it like front to back, right? Like you have to like sort of break it up into like
Yeah,
doable chunks sometimes, and so like but like we have to find time for our passions like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So even though we don't find enough time for games as our past, I mean, now look, we're starting a podcast. We're also finding other things that we can do,
Hmm.
but you know, we can still keep our other life goals and find time for our passions, and as such as gaming, sports, whatever it may be for anyone. Art. I mean,
Hmm.
personally, I like art too, but I don't. That's not my number one passion.
Hmm.
But no matter what, don't lose your dream or your passions.
Yeah.
And I don't know, dude. Like, is there anything that you want to add to that?
No, not really. But yeah. So, but what I did find really valuable too is that when we do play our competitive games now, it's really
Hmm.
fun. It's really awesome to like really, especially with the people that like personally or like you like enjoy playing games with, playing as a team, right?
True.
Being able to like take that time and like valuably like spend it with your team with comrades, right? Playing as a
Yeah.
team. And then so like part of this our podcast is what we wanted to talk about is like to improve that playing as a team, maintaining morale, motivating yourself, motivating others, monitoring your mental state when you're in competition,
Yeah.
and then talking about like skill versus interpersonal coordination and whether or not one or the other is going to win out at the end of the day. So it's really interesting for us at least to think about how that works in competition, in tournaments, in gaming. How like the whole can sometimes be greater than it's the sum of its parts, right?
Right. And that's why we want to have y'all reach out to us too, comment on things so that we can maybe talk about it or like hop in our stream, our Discord or whatever, and just like
Yeah, leave
throw
some
us questions out there and
comments.
we can talk
We're
about
we're
it.
open books, right? So if we and right now we're kind of just setting this all up, right? So maybe we're not in the most professional state of stuff too. So if you guys have any suggestions, comments, anything, we're like sponges. We're like willing to take that in and looking for ways to improve and create a better experience for everybody. Speaking of getting to know us and getting to know our audience better, we have something that we'd love to ask our audience here today. So please post or comment in the stream or in whatever medium that you're in right now. And shout out to our socials in a little bit. But all right, so our question to you today is this: are you a leader by example, right? Are you leading the charge at the front line? So we're giving you three options here, right? First option, are you a leader by example? Will you lead at the front? Are you charging in the first? I guess like a lot of the time, maybe you might like consider this kind of the tank or whatever. Are you going in first, right? Like is that
Are
where
you
you're at?
the Leroy Jenkins
Are you
kind of
are
guy?
you Leroy? Are you the Leroy of your group, right? Two, your second choice. Are you the mastermind behind the team that calls strategies or making plans for your teams? Are you like kind of like the thinker? You might not necessarily be at the front if you're that person, but you're the one that's sort of like organizing and like doing calling the shots, right? Maybe or organizing your plans, or you bringing everybody together. That's number two option. Are you number three? Are you the emotional leader? Are you the hype
Mm,
man? Are you the one that brings out the 110% of your team, right? Like, are you like maybe somebody that like amplifies the performance of others, right?
yes.
And are you bringing the potential up for other people or to keep their competitive edge, right? So those are our three little archetypes right there, right? One, perhaps leading from the front. Two, are you the strategist? Are you the thinker? Or three, are you the emotional leader? Are you like supporting other people to raise them up to be better than maybe they could have been before? So those are our three choices. We'd love for you guys to like say anything you want about it, and like give your own opinions about who you are as a person.
But quickly, Adu,
Yeah.
we don't want y'all to be influenced by us, but we do want y'all to get to
Oh.
know us also. Adu, which one of those three do you think you are?
Oh, that's a really good question. Way to flip it on me, huh?
Hmm.
Well, in any given case, I think within any team setting, you kind of have to find your personal role, especially given other people. But I think naturally, I would like fall more into the number one category where I'd probably be in the front.
Mm.
Like sometimes I'm a bit of a maniac, right? Like the jet mains or whatever. So, uh,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
But
definitely.
I mean, there's a difference between, just going in, which is fine to be honest, and like how you go in sometimes. You go in with a plan,
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
that's respectful. And that leads me to my other point. All three of these choices are good traits, as Music Freak John has mentioned.
Hmm.
Um, we kind of need all three
Yeah, no, totally. Like within a
in
group
our
or a team. Yeah.
wheelhouse, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
personally, I think I'm number two, which is usually the planner or
Okay.
understanding the strats, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I do at times just one of the other two, more or less, I do also. But usually with a do, if I'm teamed up with a do, I can be number one. Or we're just to be honest, some combination of all three. I'm just being honest.
No, yeah,
But
that's true, right? Like, and so it's not necessarily I am definitely one or definitely the other, right? But like sometimes
mhm,
it's got to be a little bit flexible. But like I think we often lean toward one choice more than the other, oftentimes, right? So
for sure. And I mean, we all have our natural abilities, and but it's awesome when you synergize or have that chemistry. And that's what we're trying to talk about
it takes
in
all
this
types.
podcast
It takes all types.
is building that chemistry so that everyone can perform together as a team, or whether it just be yourself if it's like a single player competition like a fighting game,
Mm-hmm.
how you can help yourself maintain that mental edge
Yeah.
over your opponent.
Cool.
So I wanted to also give y'all a preview of the next episode.
Ooh, yeah.
For our first episode,
Episode one.
we're going to talk about how to create a better environment for performance. As we mentioned in our goal, it's a very broad subject, but I think it's a pretty important thing to go and talk about early on. We also, just like a sneak peek at everything that we got lined up, we reached out to some musical artists to have their music included in our podcast slash stream or YouTube. We also are looking for a graphic designer to help us with our outro, intro, our outlay, and our logo. So if you all are out there, please hit us up and let us know. Um, or if y'all have ideas about anything, just like how we can improve, how something we can talk about, just hit us up
Yeah,
or comment.
if you have any topics or whatever, we'd like for this to be like we said, like a conversation, right? Rather than just us like talking like in a lecture format, right? Like we'd love to have a discussion with the community that we're generating here, right? So yeah, that's like basically the direction we're headed with this, right?
Yeah, for sure. So please just hit the follow, hit the likes. The whole three subscribe like. We'll get you a sub button eventually. Just wait, y'all wait.
If we get enough people in here, we can get that sub button, right? So follow us on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/full underscore tilt underscore esports underscore psych. If you are looking at our video right now, then you'll be able to copy down our QR codes rather for our Twitch, for our YouTube, for our Facebook. Go ahead and follow those, like and subscribe, whatever you guys need to do to get those notifications whenever we go live and or whenever you guys want to like watch VODs or listen to our podcast. You can find us in all these different social settings. And yeah, so shout outs to everybody for coming in here and listening to us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the next time we're gonna be talking about constructive criticism and how to create a better environment for performance.
For sure.
All right,
Thanks for
y'all.
watching or thanks for
Thank
listening.
you guys very, very much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye bye.